welcome to Some Good Tea, where we drink some tea and share some tea. I'm your host, Katie, and today I'm being joined with Vanessa. She is a new guest this evening, and we are sharing some tea by Stash. It's the Cranberry Pomegranate Tea. This is one of their fall flavors that we are having tonight.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. And this tea is very vibrant. It is awake in your mouth.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so good. This is our last episode to have for the month of November. So we had to have a very vibrant fall flavor of tea, and I was really excited when you agreed to be on as our final guest for our wonderful novel writing month. I'm very
so excited.
Yeah, we'll see where we end up, what we end up talking about tonight. We've already been having a lovely conversation already, talking all about books and writing. But man, what a great month. What an absolutely spectacular month it's been. I hope you've been able to get some really good writing in so far.
Well, I'm doing NaNoWriMo, which you've talked about in previous episodes. I listened to them. And I am caught up. I'm not super ahead like I have been in the past. I had a 10-day vacation, so that
you know what?
slowed me down, but I'll catch up. I always do. So
yeah, that's okay. You still have a little bit of time. When we're recording, this is on a Friday night. You've got the weekend ahead of you. You got this.
Oh, I do. I really have no concerns about making it.
Yeah.
I'm confident.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what you get out on the other end. It's a good month to kind of set you up and prepare you for the year. I mean, you've kind of already heard some of the conversations I've had, but I loved chatting with Mark and how he uses this month to essentially build up a draft that he can then work on for the rest of the year, which I think is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. We're gonna obviously be talking about writing tonight, guys. And Vanessa, do you want to do us the favor of rolling your dice and seeing what question you get?
I have a beautiful emerald green dice here. Let's see what we get.
Yes.
I rolled a 6.
6. That's a great number to start out with.
I hope so.
I mean, I try to balance it. Usually only the ones are the cringy questions.
Oh gosh. That's the botch question.
I mean, I gotta make it a little cringy sometimes, right? Okay, so question number 6. How much preparation did you do before this November? Or did you just jump right into it?
In a perfect world, I have an excellent outline with step sheets that let me know each action, who's the point of view, and what I'm trying to do for each chapter. I had a pretty good outline. I'm currently off outline because I had a new idea and I am doing stuff over in the left field right now. But I find that if I have a nice outline, I can keep moving forward easily, unless I get that spark and something just comes up and says, no, this is a really great scene. And I'll write this new really great scene if I'm inspired to do it, because NaNoWriMo is about word count, not excellence. And so I'll sit into something that grabs me like that. But I do like to have a good outline so I'm not floundering, because I've tried to do an organic writing before and I get stuck.
Yeah. You know, I feel like some people that works. They can just sit down and just write.
Have you ever read the middle grade book Holes?
Oh my gosh, I freaking love Holes.
That was totally organically by the pants written, according to an interview I read. He did, and I'm like, that's so intricate. There's all these things that come back, and he did it just, and so I am not that good.
And for some people, it flows like that, and I think for some pieces, it might flow like that, depending on you and depending on your process, and maybe depending on the piece. Maybe depending on what stage in life you're in, art and especially writing, I like to say it just does what it wants.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah. So
And
like, it helps me same to like have an outline and
yeah.
have a structure. I call it my skeleton so that you can have something to bring you back to base. But then other times you'll just have an idea and you just gotta like write that out
Hmm.
and just let it happen.
And you
And
never know what that new
yeah,
idea is going to spark from that. It's
yeah,
the skeleton needs to have all the fingers and toes, so you never know
yeah.
where you're going to go out. But
Mhm.
I do think it's just different for every project and for every person.
It's very true. It's very, very true.
Hmm.
And like we're getting to the very end of National Novel Writing Month, but that doesn't mean we're gonna stop writing.
No,
You
I'm going to
know?
keep writing this one until I'm completely done with the book because 50,000 words isn't going to be done with the book. So,
No, 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 no. And like for those of you who are aspiring writers or maybe working on your own piece at the moment, if 50,000 words is the like end of your story, that's great. I'm happy for you.
good
But
job.
that's awesome. I'm glad that it wraps up so nicely in such a short little package. Um, for most of us, that's not the case. Uh, um, we have some work ahead of us.
Yeah.
A little
So
bit.
in some cases, I will have the story finished at
Yeah.
50,000, but when I go to edit, it's like by the time I'm done, it's 100,000. It just
Yeah.
takes a it.
Yeah.
I add a lot more description.
Yeah.
I would describe my dragons based on previous conversations, but and in the rough draft, I just didn't. I would just say there's a dragon.
Yeah, and sometimes that's actually a really helpful like helpful tidbit, guys. If you're like going along and you're writing a scene and you're like, "Ah, crap. I forgot to do a description of what this character looks like." And maybe you like haven't envisioned what they look like yet. Just like in parentheses put like description of this character and move on.
Well,
Move
the
on.
whole point is to get your initial words down because
Yeah.
there's a lot of editing. You can make it all better on the editing
You
phase.
can go back. You can go back and put in like really cool dialogue here.
Yeah,
You didn't,
exactly.
right? Maybe you haven't come up with the like super cool speech that the villain says
Yeah.
at the end where he's all like evil and stuff because you were tired that day. Maybe
Yep.
you have to come back. It's
I
okay.
had a I had an inspiration. I went back to my outline and realized
Yeah.
I missed an important mirror moment scene for one
Hmm.
of my characters. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just kind of carved it out and gave it a new chapter heading, said, this scene needs to be inserted somewhere. And then I continued on
Yeah. Insert
um,
here.
because I'll edit it later. I know I can. I'm not thinking, oh, it has to be perfect this round. Your first
Yeah.
draft is just get it down.
I think one of the things that helped me so much as a young writer was the realization that you didn't have to write your story in order.
Yeah.
And that like sounds both obvious and crazy,
Hmm.
right? Especially if you haven't like realized that yet. But like, you don't have to write it in order. If you kind of know like A, B, C, like the progression, and you know, okay, it starts here, this is where the middle is, and this is where the end is, that's it. That's great.
Yeah.
You can write those three things, and then you can start kind of jumping in where you see that happening and insert those scenes, insert that dialogue, insert the
Insert the
action.
foreshadowing you missed on your first try.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And go where it's easier to go and where the flow is happening. You don't actually have to go in chronological order because sometimes the writing doesn't flow that way in your head and in your process. Sometimes the characters in your head are like fighting the final fight scene, and you're trying to do the intro scene in the first chapter.
Yeah. One of the things, my very first published book was a NaNoWriMo book that I wrote originally in 2008. And
Nice.
I've been doing
That's
this.
cool.
This is my 20th. I've been doing it for 20 years. Um,
Congratulations. That's
oh,
so
thank you. I have a
cool.
lot of rough drafts.
That's so cool, man.
But I added this whole not a main character, but a very significant secondary character, and this whole plot
Ah.
line to it on when I realized there's not enough tension, there's not enough going on, and
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I added a whole like an extra 30,000 words to just because I added this new stuff. So you can always go back and oomph it.
Yeah.
That's don't be afraid to do that, and don't think
Yeah.
that, oh, you failed because there's not enough tension on the first draft. We're just getting the actions down, the
It's a
blocking.
first
Yeah,
draft. It's a first
yeah.
draft. My gosh. That's like if you're making a boxed cake and you've like dumped the box into the bowl and you've cracked the egg and the oil and you haven't even mixed it yet and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst cake
This
ever.
doesn't taste right.
This doesn't taste right at all."
It doesn't even look cake like.
Yeah, because it's not a cake. You haven't mixed it, you haven't.
It's ingredients.
Yeah, that's what your first draft is. Your first draft is the cake mix, the egg, and the oil. You haven't even mixed it up yet. You haven't put it in the pan. You haven't baked it. You haven't nothing. Like you've done nothing. Well,
Mm,
you've done something, but
you've
it's
done your
definitely,
first step.
yeah, it's not a cake, but you've got it in the bowl. Good job. Good job.
Good job.
I'm so proud of you.
It takes
Yeah,
a lot to get that first step. I mean,
it
just the
does.
idea that
Yeah,
you wrote a rough draft, 50,000 words in a month is amazing.
dude.
It's not, nobody expects it to be perfect.
No, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But like if you don't make a first draft, you can't have a second draft.
100% correct.
And if you don't have a second draft, there's nothing for your editor to look at. There's nothing for your beta readers to read. And if there's nothing for them to read, then what are you going to hand over to your agent?
And what are you going to finally have for your fans who are eager
Yeah.
for the next one?
Yeah. Like, so as much as it's just a box cake mix in a bowl, it's so important. That first
Yeah,
draft is so important. So don't freaking hate on it,
no.
you know? It's okay that it's a mess.
Yep.
It's supposed to be, you know? There's a lot of steps and that's okay. It's just a first
There,
draft.
yeah, there's a lot of it's not an immediate process. I know some people who can write really clean first drafts, and I
Which
not
is
everybody
pretty cool.
can, so it's okay if you don't.
I can sometimes write like a
Nice.
really clean scene,
Yeah,
like
nice.
one like at one at a time. It depends on how much sleep I've gotten and what time of day it is
Yes.
and like is it the weekend or what? Um that's an exception, you know? That's an
Hmm.
exception to the rule. That's not the rule. And so that means we have to be okay with the boxed cake in the bowl. It's okay.
It's okay.
They're not all mug cakes. Those things are great. You
Is
know?
that the one you put in the microwave?
Yeah, those are
Oh,
delicious.
I've
Yeah.
had I've had one.
Yeah, they're great. Um, I'm really good at those because homegirl here is single and sometimes you just really want like a cinnamon roll, but you just like want one,
Yeah.
you know, or
Oh,
like
making a whole batch of cinnamon rolls is a huge endeavor. That's a lot of work.
and I can't justify making a dozen cinnamon rolls as a single person.
Take them to work and pass them out.
Yeah, sure, that's what I'll do with them.
That's
Yeah.
what we do at my office sometimes is people will make a cake and there's too much and we bring it into the office and it's gone in like 2.5 seconds.
Oh
So,
yeah. I definitely do that a lot with like if I make chili or if I have
yep.
a bread maker that I occasionally bust out, that type of thing. But let me
Nice.
tell you, like learning those little recipes for like making a quick little muffin or a brownie or little mug cakes. Those are great. And that's like my one scene that I can occasionally write. Like sometimes it's like the heavens open up and
Yeah,
I
I love it.
write like 5,000 words in like a day. You just have a day
Mhm.
where you're just like it's like a fever and you're like, "Oh my gosh."
It's channeling through the top of your head. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love those moments. I
And
cherish that.
it just pours out and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm gonna do this every single day and I'm gonna be so cool. It doesn't happen. But that's what that's like. And it's like its own perfect little thing, and that
Hmm.
occasionally happens. But most of the time you have to write in little snippets. And that's great. That's fine.
Yeah, with the busy day, I mean, you know, you have the day job and then you're trying to, some people have the kids and the family. I don't, but it's the cat. I have the cat.
Yeah.
And it's
Cats
just
will
it's
keep
hard
you
to
busy.
get enough time to get into the mindset sometimes.
Hmm.
And so you are, it's okay, it's an hour before I have to go to work, I'll sit down and try
Hmm.
to think about what I'm doing, and I'm sleepy, and
Yeah.
but you gotta at least put some time into it. And then when you have the time when you can sink into it, and like you said, the heavens open up and you the
Hmm.
scene just speaks from your heart and you're just writing it out. Oh,
Oh,
I love those scenes so much.
yeah.
And I do, when I go back to edit, I'm like, oh, I remember what this scene just came out so well.
Yeah.
And I do not as much editing on it because it's more cohesive.
Yeah, you can always tell when you were having a good writing day.
Mm-hmm.
And you can set yourself up for success when you can find that time and make that time happen. But it's okay that it doesn't happen all the time, and I think it's important for us to be okay with being human and that that's going to be the exception more often than the rule, but like cherishing that when it does
Cherish
happen.
it.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome for sure. Well, I'm gonna roll the dice
Roll the
and we're
dice.
gonna see where we end up next. Ooh, I got a 15.
At least you didn't get a one.
My little like purple and blue dice usually likes me pretty well.
Nice.
Let's see. Do do do. Do you prefer writing on a computer, a laptop? Do you ever use your phone? Do you audio record stuff, handwrite, etc., etc.? Why choose one method over another?
I'm pretty much a laptop computer writer at all times. I am not of the. I mean, I have a phone. I do stuff on my phones, but I'm not the phone generation. I don't type on
Yeah.
my phone. I texting is difficult enough. There's so many typos.
Hmm. Fair.
And sometimes I have been out backpacking and I
Yeah.
get an idea and I have my phone with me backpacking, it's GPS and camera,
Yeah,
of
I
course.
mean, if you
But
die, somebody's got to find you.
I hope, well, that's not going to happen.
Good,
We're being
good.
positive here.
Don't die, kids. Don't die out on your
Don't die
adventure.
out in the wild.
No.
I will record some ideas that I have
Oh,
because
cool.
you get inspiration
Yeah.
everywhere. I got it
Yeah.
trained. And then sometimes I'll have a little notebook and I'll jot down some ideas because I do get a lot of ideas while hiking, and I prefer to read it versus listen to something I recorded. So I do a lot of stuff, but the majority of it is all I'm typing. I'm a pretty quick typer, and it's just easy to do it on a computer. How about you?
Yeah. I actually like that you brought up your like backpacking and hiking because, and this is like pretty rare for me. Um, I really like hiking. I like going to
Nice.
national parks and stuff. I
Yeah.
have my like specific like backpack for going to the national parks. I have my Camelback that every time I go to a national park, I get a pin for that national park and I add it to my Camelback.
Do you have the national park passport to get the stamps?
My friend does the stamps. Yep, my friend does the stamps. I get mugs because I drink tea.
Yeah.
In fact, they're right next to me where we're recording on this lovely shelf.
Oh, nice.
I put them out on my mug rack every summer.
Oh,
Um, and so I get a mug and I get a pin for every new park that I go to.
oh, fun.
And in that backpack, I always have my backpacking notebook.
Yep, me too. Nice.
Yeah, because, and like I have my phone, but my phone is for taking pictures of nature
Yeah.
and making stupid video recordings of also nature. Um, um, and my backpacking notebook is usually I'll write down like this is the trail we were on, this is the like
Mm.
cool thing that we saw that day. And um if we like stop on the trail or if it's like a long day hike or whatever and we hammock at some point,
Ooh,
um
fancy.
hammocking is the best.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 would recommend at all times. Then I will bust out my little notebook and I have a rough draft that I have only ever worked on
Oh, wow.
in that notebook. One day I'll digitize it. And it's funny because I actually will dread that. Because,
Oh,
well, because like then I'm gonna have to transfer all of this handwritten, these little
well,
handwritten paragraphs.
all you're gonna have to do is scan it in the future, and or you could read it out loud, and it'll just write it for you.
Yeah,
That
that's true. I could do the
it'll be
like
easy in
voice
the
to
future.
text. Yeah, I could
Yep.
do the voice to text. That'll be much easier for sure. And then it would be basically my second draft, so it'll be a little bit better. But I've always like I like the tactileness of it.
Yeah. How
And
long do you think it is? How many pages of your notebook?
that thing is more than halfway full now.
Nice.
So like it's a chunky notebook. Like
Yeah,
we're
nice.
talking like 2 inches,
Wow.
2 inches thick.
You're lugging that thing around, huh?
I go big or go home, I say, you
We
know.
try to go as light as possible on our backpacking trips.
Go big or go home. If you're hiking, you know. If I put like I bring all the water all the time,
Yeah.
all the snacks, and my phone and my notebook, and that's what I got. Oh, and first like a first aid kit
Yeah, yeah,
is in there, and my bag doesn't weigh that much. Most of the weight is water for sure.
yeah.
Because of where I'm located, most of the places that I'm hiking are usually hot places.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have a lot of water here, so we don't
yeah,
unless we know it's like if it's September or end of October, August,
yeah,
we'll worry more about water, but for the most part, we don't lug a lot around because there's a stream around the corner. So that's
yeah.
the Pacific Northwest for you. It's nice and
Yeah.
wet.
I definitely have one of those little like life straw things.
Oh yeah.
I've never actually used it. I've always wanted to try because I am like, oh, it'd be so
Do
cool.
it. Do
I,
it.
I know I want to. I haven't because I have so much water. The goal is to like make your backpack lighter by
Oh, you're leaving.
staying hydrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have always used that little notebook, and besides that notebook, I've moved away from handwriting
Hmm.
because I don't like the necessity of then transferring it digitally.
Yeah. It's like
Uh,
it to me it seems like an extra step. I have a friend
yeah, yeah.
who does the handwriting
Ugh.
and then puts it in digitally and she says it
It's
gives her more time to think about the story.
I don't need more time to think about the story. It's playing in my head all
I
of the
love it.
time. I
Yeah.
need more time to write the
Right.
dang story. I don't have enough time to write it, you
I
know?
feel ya.
Yeah, like I can't get it to turn off in my head. I just need more time to put it in the in on the paper, in the
Mhm.
computer. So I
That
yeah,
time, I find
yeah.
that time when you're just percolating the story and thinking about it is super valuable though.
It is. It
It
is.
gets you, I mean, you get to know the world, the characters, their
Oh my
reactions
gosh.
so
Yeah.
much better when you're just like because I just went on that 10-day trip recently
Yeah.
and I on the airplane driving around, I'm like, I'm just thinking about what would the characters be doing right now, and
Yeah.
I find I have a better story when I give myself the time to be in the world. And sometimes everything's just so rushed. I don't
Yeah.
give myself that time and I
Hmm.
need to do that. That's one thing I want to do more of and I think it would make my writing easier and better.
Yeah. Yeah. One that's kind of what we had talked about on one of my previous episodes, kind of like the act of essentially like daydreaming.
Yeah.
in your writing and in your world building and letting it just maybe you don't have time to write that day or you only
Hmm.
had time to get down 500 words or whatever, but like you had time to think about, oh, what about this scene? Or, oh,
Hmm.
what about this lore or the history of this
Oh yeah, yeah. I love
area? And
building lore and history.
yeah, and like maybe it's all head canon as they say,
Hmm.
but like that's actually I feel like so helpful and useful to do as a writer to just get you familiar with like what is this place? Who are these people? What what are their lives like? What how would they
Hmm.
react to this kind of a situation or that kind of a situation? So that when you do have the time to sit down and write, and you're thinking about, oh, what about this really tragic scene?
Oh
You
yeah.
you've already thought about like how would this character react to something that's really sad, you know, when you've
And some
spent time feeling those feelings.
and sometimes when I know exactly what you're talking about, and sometimes when I get
Yeah.
to writing that sad scene, I well, I've been thinking about what the character would do. I haven't fully decided until I'm actually sitting there and writing. And
Yeah.
that's like, oh,
Because
is
you
he
don't
gonna
know.
be strong? Is he gonna,
Yeah.
be broken? Is he gonna support? Is he gonna turn
Yeah.
his back on? Yeah, and it's kind of fun when you get to that point and you just make the decision and go
And then
forward.
you just realize it and then you just
Yep.
know it's a fascinating process. It's one of the things that I probably actually really like a lot about writing, that you kind of discover this about these characters as you go along.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
That's that's like the funnest part is getting to know your characters, letting
Yeah.
them come to life. I love
Yeah.
that. I That's just one of the reasons why I keep doing it. My characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. Well, we're running like short on time, but do you
Okay.
roll the dice again?
One more dice. Here we go.
Yes.
A 12.
12. Ooh,
I was hoping for the big 2-0, but
maybe we'll get there. Keep your fingers crossed. We'll probably have time for one more. Let's see, let's see. Number 12. The focus in writing is often on that first draft, and that's a lot of what we've been just talking about.
yeah.
But editing and rewriting is a major part as well. How do you let go of something in your first draft that you are attached to, but you know is not actually working for your manuscript as a whole?
So there's the lingo I've heard for that is killing your darlings. I
Aww.
know.
I like
And
that though. It's good.
yeah, I love editing.
Mhm.
I really enjoy it, and I love pulling the whole manuscript together. I like all phases of the writing, but
Yeah.
I when I come across some scene I wrote and it's like, oh, the plot's changed enough that this doesn't fit anymore. I I first see, can I make it fit? Is
Yeah.
there a way that I can change enough of it to where it fits the scene and
Yeah.
or maybe in a different spot? And if not, I cut it and put it in another document. I loved it so much, I might
Yeah.
be able to use the essence of it in something else.
Yeah.
So, and no writing is ever wasted writing. Even if you do delete it, it still was an experience that you went through and learned from. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I can do it. And maybe sometimes I should get rid of something and I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have done that before, but I'm blind to it maybe. But I have cut some stuff and this just isn't really working.
Yeah.
And it's in a document. I have a multi-page document of scenes I cut that I think are salvageable for something. So,
Yeah. I actually I really like the way you worded that. It was very well put.
mm,
I've have found myself almost like naturally gravitating towards and kind of doing that in the editing process myself because like your writing just I find it's almost like as you edit, it's like a tree and it's grown past something.
Yeah, that's
right?
nice. Yeah.
Right? And it's like that other scene was like a branch that's died now. And
Hmm.
the tree's over here and alive and lush. And it's like, okay, this branch is still part of the tree. Can we revive it? Is it still useful? Yes, no,
Yeah.
maybe so. Like it's still part of the tree. It's still something you created. We can prune it off and set it aside and maybe use that wood for something. Uh,
Yeah.
you don't
You're
have to
just
light it.
really good with the metaphors.
Thank you. Oh my
We got the
gosh.
cake, we got the tree and the wood.
I just really like speaking in metaphor. Um, but like it's hard to, I think, for us as any kind of a creator, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're into painting or sculpting or you're a writer, like whatever your creative process is, I think you either create something and you move on and you hate that thing and it's easy and you're just like bleh, or it's your child, right? And you
Mm.
know that it's bad, but you worked hard on that thing, and it's tough to revisit it and spruce it up to where it either needs to be better or you just gotta let it go. Uh, and I like that you said you take it and you save it.
Hmm.
That's fine.
Speaking of, it's bad. The book I'm doing for NaNoWriMo. This is the second time I've done it because the first time I
Oh,
did it was several years ago, and I decided I
interesting.
didn't like one of my characters, so I'm just redoing it.
See, and like I love that. I
Yeah,
love that because like it's okay to
it's okay.
dislike your own stuff
Oh yeah,
and go back to it and
yeah.
make it better.
Hmm.
Go back to it and make it better because like there's clearly stuff in there that you still like and that you still want to bring about.
Yeah.
You just gotta tweak it, you just gotta change it, and that's very doable.
I made my character too whiny, and that's the big thing. And so I just changed his situation a little bit in the second draft. I'm using
Awesome.
the same. I know the characters already, um, and I like it. I'm enjoying rewriting this world again. I don't think it's, like I said, it's not wasted. But I also paint, and I know what you mean about
Yeah.
how sometimes I'll paint something and I'm like, it's not quite right. And I give away all my paintings. It's just like, I don't want to
Aw.
hoard them because what am I going to do when, what am I going to do with them?
You
So
run
it's like,
out of wall space, you're gonna run
I
out,
know exactly. And
you
I have a
know?
friend's birthday coming up and I'm like, I have a painting of a wolf and she liked wolves. So I'll just give this painting to her, even though I know it's got some problems, but
But you know what? She doesn't have to know.
no, she'll just be happy. She'll
She's
just
just
enjoy
gonna
it.
see it and be like, oh my gosh, look, a wolf.
Here, I'll show you. I know that people can't see it, but there's my little wolf painting.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah,
That
thank
looks
you. But when you look
gorgeous.
at the fine details, you're like, but I think everybody's really critical of themselves. And it's
Yeah.
just part of our nature. And as creative people, we want to do the best we can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there's a point where you can't keep redoing something over and over again. There's no such thing as perfect. And
Yeah.
do the best you can do. And then, I'm going to work on the next painting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewrite this novel, and I'm okay with that. And because it wasn't what I wanted, but I'm gonna polish this one up to the best I can because
Yeah.
the bones are stronger on this next draft. So
Yeah. 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 No, I like that. And I think there's also it does come to a point where we need to know when to stop polishing too.
yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
really hard.
That sometimes I think might almost be harder than cutting stuff out and the editing
Hmm.
process itself is knowing when is it good enough,
Yeah,
you
I've
know?
been. There's the 20/80 rule or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I kind of am resistant to that because it's all like, oh well, it's 80% there, publish it, move on. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, oh, because your fans really love you and they just want to read your next thing. And I'm like, but I don't want them to read typos and I don't want there to be a weakness in the story. So I'll be
Yeah.
95.5. I don't
Yeah.
know. But you
Yeah.
can't make it be perfect.
Well,
Yeah, it's hard to make
and
to
it's
keep
a
no. Sorry.
It's a balance, right? Like it's a balance because like perfect to who,
Well, it's pretty much for you. I
right?
think we're the harshest judges.
Yeah. Perfect to who? You know? I
Yeah.
think in the end it's really who's deciding what is perfect ultimately.
Hmm.
Who is setting that bar ultimately? Who's the one that really calls that final shot ultimately? And if you're the one that's keeping you from putting your own work on the shelf,
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who have a lot of books and they've been polishing them and working them for
yeah,
years and have not self-published anything yet. And I'm like, why not? Or submitted to a magazine or done whatever. And it's like,
yeah,
just, you got to start somewhere.
yeah, and like whether you choose to self-publish, hybrid, traditional, like
Mhm.
whatever route you're going, it's hard, it's rigorous, there's a lot of hoops
Well,
to
yeah,
jump through. But
it
if
is.
if the thing that's holding you back is your own self-criticism and your own perfectionism, don't do that to yourself.
It's hard not to. I mean, and different temperaments and personalities have a different level of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I try to put out the best product I can without
Mhm.
getting so stuck in, is this the right word choice? Should I
Yeah,
use this or that? It's like, at some
yeah,
point
yeah.
you have to let it go out into the wild and
You
be
gotta
found.
let it spread its little booky wings and
Big fluffy wings,
fly.
this little
Yeah,
flap along the spine.
yeah, yeah. Like you have dreams and visions for your work, and the only way that those can happen is if you like let it go and let it
Yeah.
be, right? And it's like, so what if it might fail? What if it might do great?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
You won't ever know if you keep on if you keep on editing forever.
And the thing is to know that there are going to be people who are going to say, "Oh, look at this typo. Look at this word choice. Look at this thing. I didn't
Yeah.
like how this was presented." You're going to have people who don't love it.
Yeah.
You're going to have people who do love it.
Yeah.
And unless you let it fly, you're going to have nobody who knows it exists.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Literally, right before we were recording this episode, you and I were talking about a very popular book that some people really, really like, and that we have specific feelings about some of the writing choices that were made.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, that author is published.
Hmm.
That author's published.
And
And
very famous now.
their work is out there. Their work is influencing people. Their work is a story that people are talking about. Their work is being talked about. Their story is a story that's being read. Their story is becoming other people's stories now. Like everything that they had hoped for and envisioned for, and probably more, is happening for them, which
That's
is
so uplifting.
that. And you know what? That is so cool, right?
Yeah.
That's such a cool thing that they've had happen for them. And as much as like we were like, I feel this way about this writing choice or that way about that writing choice, you could say that about any published author ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
And some people are going to overlook certain
Yeah.
issues and other people are going to, that's going to bug them. So
Yeah.
most people really
Yeah.
like this book and I had plot hole problems but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
different target audience.
but they're published. Look at them. Their book
Hmm.
wings are flapping and flying and free. Like don't let yourself be the thing that's holding you back because you don't know how many people are dying to read your story.
Ah, so many. They're just lining up.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't know. We don't know.
Hmm.
And I I just want this world to be filled with more good stories.
Oh, I hear you 100%.
You know, I felt for so long like held back, not just by my own self-doubt and self-criticism, but like by other voices. So like I think one thing that NaNoWriMo did for me was help me learn that confidence and like don't let your own self be the thing that keeps you from being published. People want to read your story.
And they want to read your story too.
Oh, shit.
People out there and you and everybody. I mean, there's never enough, there will never be too many good stories out there.
That's so true. It is so, so, so freaking true. Ugh, books are great. You can
I
never
love it. I
have
love
enough
reading.
books. You can never have enough books. Like, just show you the bookshelf that's right over there. There's not
Oh,
enough
nice.
room.
Mine's right over here.
And yours over there, yeah. Well, Vanessa, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you about writing, and just
Oh.
hopefully this sparks somebody to be excited about his or her own book and gets to writing. So,
Yes, please, guys, keep
yeah,
writing. We need your stories. I have
stories.
space. I still have, well, I
Do
can
you?
buy more bookshelves.
I was gonna say, I don't have any more space.
I can buy more bookshelves to put your books on them. I want to. It'll be great. It's fine. I don't need floor space. It's fine.
I think that we need to start designing bookcases that kind of hang from the ceiling.
Ooh.
You know,
Ooh.
like a Murphy bed, something like that.
Like a Murphy bed
A Murphy
bookcase.
bookcase.
Yeah,
That might
that's
work.
cool. Or like one of those like filing cabinet things that like
That wrote,
turns, that
yeah.
rotates. Yeah, but it's a bookshelf.
There's got to be more. There's
Yeah,
some new technology here.
IKEA should get on that, you
They
know.
probably do. I haven't
They're
wandered through
they're
their showcase for
into
a while.
yeah, they're into all the like space-saving stuff.
Yes, they are.
They should do that.
Yeah.
It's almost 2025. Why don't we have a rotating bookshelf? Oh, guys, it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you again, Vanessa, for being on with us tonight.
Thank you.
This is all we have time for, but we will talk at you later.